Unsurprisingly, I have been pronouncing his name wrong the whole time. Okay, so I'm really bad at names, especially if it's not a name that I can just sort of intuitively figure out the right way to say it. And I've been pronouncing his name Shang-Chi, but it's actually Shang-Chi. So there's that. Wanted to clarify that. Okay, so Sunday morning, and I felt good about leaving Scooter. Hold on. Scooter, check. He's lying over there on the floor, so I pop around and check on him every once in a while. He's been doing okay right now, knock on wood. He started his cancer treatment, and he seems to be tolerating it pretty well. So I decided I wanted to go see Shang-Chi. I was going to go Thursday night, but things, were going on and just didn't work out. So I went to go see it Sunday morning, this morning, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. But honestly, it didn't blow me away like I kind of was expecting that it would based on the huge reviews that were coming in, audience and critics alike. Well, specifically huge reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, let's say. In other places like IMDb, like in Rotten Tomatoes, I see audience reviews are in the high 90s. I wouldn't rate it that high. It's not bad though. I'm not saying it's bad and that I didn't enjoy it. I just don't think it's on up there with like a Wonder Woman or The Dark Knight or anything like that. But I think IMDb ratings are a little bit more accurate. Not accurate. They're a little bit closer to what I would rate it, which is about an 8. Metacritic audience reviews, they might be in the mid 7s. I don't think I'd rate it as low as mid 7s. I felt like it was a pretty solid 8 or 80%. Anyway, it was fun. It was funny. The acting was decent. Awkwafina's freaking hilarious, like I knew she would be. The chemistry between the main actor and Awkwafina, I can't remember, Shimaleo is his name or something. I'm sure I'm butchering it. Whatever. I'm just going to call him Shang-Chi. The chemistry between his character and Awkwafina's character was really good. They had a very close friendship, and you could tell maybe there were some underlying romantic sort of things, but it wasn't really blatant. They were just really solid friends. They'd known each other for like 10 years or so. Anyway, that was a nice chemistry that they had. It was fun to watch them interacting with each other. Throughout the film, we did get flashbacks to his life as a young child and then as a teenager, and then how that ties in with what's going on with him in present day. Also, the character of his sister, I think there was a flashbacky moment that involved her as well. And something that I enjoyed about this movie is that the characters felt pretty well fleshed out. I didn't feel like there was too much skimping going on with regard to character development or just their backstory and understanding their motives. The villain in this movie is Shang-Chi's father, and well, I don't want to throw too many spoilers, but just think, how Marvel is so interconnected. Their movies are that's his father right there. Their movies are so interconnected, and yes, this ties back to things that went on in a previous Marvel movie. I'm sure anyone who's been paying attention is aware of that tie-in and probably will not be surprised by a certain cameo that shows up I wasn't surprised. I knew it was going to happen, but it's hilarious, and it's a long cameo because this particular character is in there pretty consistently. Hold on, Scooter, check. Every time I hear him move, I check on him. I'm mostly monitoring him right now to see if he's going to throw up or whatever in response to the chemo. So what was the thing? Yeah, that cameo went on for a while. So they basically became a character that was just in there for a good portion of the movie and provided quite a bit of comic relief. What else? There, now, so including that cameo, there are 3 other cameos, maybe a 4th one. I mean, maybe a 4 extra, maybe 5 total. I personally only counted 4, but then I'd heard that there were rumors that another character might have been in there too. Okay, that one right there. Maybe that's who people thought was Abomination. Isn't that his name from The Incredible Hulk? But he looked different, so his face looked different. So I don't know if that really was him. I might be wrong. But I solidly noticed 4 cameos. You can't miss them if you watched any of the Marvel movies to date. And one of the cameos happened right as I was reminding myself that the director worked with this particular person multiple times, and then that person showed up and I was like, I know it. So wasn't super thrilled about that cameo, but I've made no secret of how I feel about that particular character. Don't forget to stay to the very, very end. I don't know how many times I've seen people leave the theater after the credits start. Have they never seen a Marvel movie before? Because there are 2 post-credit scenes. One after the credits roll a little bit, and then another at the very, very end. And of course, they both tie into obviously things that will probably be happening in the future Marvel movie. So yeah, don't forget post-credit scenes. The villain in here, I started to talk about him a little bit, then I got distracted. The villain in here, Shang-Chi's father. I felt like, unless I'm brain farting and forgetting other villains in other Marvel movies, I honestly felt like his motivation and his character as a whole was pretty relatable, and you understood why he was doing what he was doing, and you sympathized with him to a certain degree. I mean, I certainly did. He wasn't a villain that I felt like I absolutely hated and wanted to see him die, because he was well done. He had depth to him that made him interesting, which is, it's things that are built on as the movie progresses. There's no real, like with, you know, a lot of times with villains in superhero movies, they're very black and white. They're very like one-dimensional, cardboard cutout, not very interesting. They're just this bad person or bad entity or whatever. They just need to be destroyed. But with the case of his character, he wasn't like that. He didn't feel like this big bad. I mean, he was, but he didn't feel like it. He felt like an actual human that you could feel sorry for, and you understood why they were doing the things that they were doing, and you didn't necessarily want to see him defeated to the point. You didn't, it's been a long week, y'all. You didn't necessarily want to see him defeated to the point of completely, you know, stamping out his existence. You wanted to see him reconcile with his kids, because the relationship between him and his kids, it's pretty estranged because of things from their childhood, and I'm trying not to get too in depth with that. And the training that Shang-Chi went through as a kid, and how he became this hardened fighter, assassin type and everything. So I found that quite interesting, and I liked it a lot, the portrayal of his father. Also, I was going to touch on the fact that not all of the bad guys in here are humans. There's obviously some supernatural stuff that's going to be going on, as we're all aware of, because that's been happening pretty consistently in the MCU films for several years. You know, when Iron Man came out, it was all just human-based. It wasn't anything beyond his world. But as the movies continued to go on, there became more supernatural stuff that was involved, sorcerers and aliens from other planets and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's that sort of thing that's going on in here too. So that's one of the bad guy aspects of the film. But the main bad guy in here is Shang-Chi's father, and I felt like he was written very well. I actually liked his character wanted him to change his ways, but understood why he was on the path that he was on, if that makes sense. Sorry, I knew that there was something I was forgetting when I was initially recording my review. Something that I wanted to point out is that, so the main actor, Shimu Liu, whatever, Shang-Chi, the main actor, he didn't come across as super like charismatic and captivating and just super interesting and everything. His story was interesting. His character was interesting, but the actor himself, I really don't feel like he carried the weight of this movie super effective. Like, he just wasn't a very captivating presence to me, despite the cool fight scenes and everything. Honestly, the guy who played his father had more of a impactful presence on the film than the Shang-Chi character himself. And I think that is probably largely because of the actor. He just wasn't like this big magnetic pull to really draw you in to the story, to the film. So if I had any quibble with the film, it would be connected to that. I mean, he didn't ruin it. Don't get me wrong. He didn't ruin it. He did okay, but I just don't feel like he was the strongest layer of this film. And also the final battle with a lot of the supernatural stuff going on, which I touched on already about the supernatural thing. I don't remember if I'm going to put this before I mentioned that or after, but that didn't blow me away as much as, you know, other big final battle scenes in other films have or other MCU films. But yeah, that's just something that I wanted to mention. It was something that I was thinking about when I was driving on the way home, and it doesn't matter because everything else worked decently enough that whatever issue or feeling I had about him, it was compensated for with everything else that was involved in the film, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the review now. What else? The fight sequences in here. They were pretty well done. Honestly, there were some creative scenes that went on. But, you know, I noticed pretty early on when some of the fight stuff happened that it suffered a bit from what you see in a lot of fight scenes that involve martial arts type of fighting, or let's say any type of fighting where there's kicking going on, you know, where they do the big kick like they're trying to aim for the head, but it's obvious they're trying to miss the person's head, and it's just like so blatant. There was a bit of that going on in here. Not horrible. It wasn't horrible, but you could tell. It was like, that kind of always gets under my skin when I watch fighting scenes and it's so obvious that they're trying to miss. And yeah, I picked up on that. I think there might be only one martial arts type film off the top of my head where it was choreographed so well and it was done so believably that it didn't seem to suffer from the sort of thing that I'm talking about, and that was The Raid. That's the only one. A lot of Jackie Chan's films are like that too, because it's just so well done, but The Raid pops into my mind as far as that. And so, you know, if you can look past the obviousness of the missed kicks to the head and everything, I think probably for the most part you'll likely enjoy the fight choreography. It was pretty well done. Action sequences that were typical Marvel fashion, fairly well done. Characters, interesting characters, and good comedy, a good pacing. I don't feel like this movie really dragged very much. I do have a sort of a kind of question in my mind as to the importance of Awkwafina's character. She's his really good friend, but throughout the course of the movie, she ends up tagging along with him on his adventure. Okay, there's that. But there's something that happens at the end, and I was wondering to myself, and I don't want to get specific as to when it happens, but I was thinking to myself, what sort of purpose is she going to serve besides just being his sidekick, his friend? There's got to be something more involved with her character, because she doesn't have any supernatural powers. She's there as his little sidekick buddy. She's functional. She does, you know, it's not like she's just this useless tag along, but I don't get why there was a certain level of significance and importance put on her at a specific time in the film. Maybe this will be revealed at some point. Maybe there's something I don't know about her character. I don't know if her character is from the comics. I don't know anything about Shang-Chi. I never heard of Shang-Chi until this movie came out, and then I found out, well, yeah, he's this character in Marvel and everything. Well, I hadn't read any of his. I don't even know when he came around, because I certainly never read him whenever I read comics. So I don't know if he's a newer character or if he's always been around and I just never happened to encounter his character at all. So I'm not deep into the Shang-Chi lore and stuff. You know what? I don't know how much of this they may have altered from the comics. Because the Ten Rings stuff, from what I understand, that sort of thing has been around a bit. And I don't know if Shang-Chi is connected with that in the comics or if they just made this connection in the movie. I'm sure comic book buffs will know the answer to that. They will know this stuff inside and out. They'll watch this and they'll be like, well, that's not how it was in the comics. But I went into this very blind about pretty much everything involving his character and this movie, except for how it ties into another movie in the MCU. So, trying to be vague, like I said. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Can't think of anything else at the moment. This is just, I wanted to let you guys know how the film was, enjoyment factor and everything. I think it's worth going to the big screen to see. Like I said, it didn't knock my socks off or completely blow me away, but it was a fun way to pass the time. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the cinematography and enjoyed the pacing, the editing. I enjoyed the acting for the most part, the comic relief and the good comedic timing and all of that. It was fun. I'm not sure where I would rank it in my list of Marvel favorites, and I don't know how much of that has to do with the fact that I'm completely unfamiliar with this character. So most of the other characters that, or if not all of the other characters that have been in the MCU films or haven't had films made about them, I've known who they were. So I knew at least a skosh about them, some more than others. But him, I knew nothing. But anyway, it was still fun. I enjoyed it. And I think probably most Marvel fans will. I was looking at the box office mojo, and I thought that I had heard Marvel or whatever studio was anticipating it would probably make about 50 million. I believe, if the estimated receipts are accurate, that it's going to be a bit more than that. It's looking like for the 4-day, because they're counting Monday because this is a holiday weekend, for the 4-day weekend, it's estimated that it's going to bring in about 83 million. Which is significantly higher than the 50 million they were expecting. About 12 or 13 million of that is supposed to be like Monday's revenue. So if you only want to count like a 3-day, it looks like it will have made probably in the high 60s or the very low 70s for the 3-day, let's say Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I think it's going to do fairly well. And I believe that probably positive word of mouth will help it, just because it's also fun. It's lighthearted, but it's also got some serious themes to it. Family estrangement and grief and loss in dealing with that, and how it can tear a person up and twist them in all sorts of ways and make them do things that are not good. I was saying that I thought that I was thinking that, you know, positive buzz, word of mouth will probably help it. I'm not exactly sure why there wasn't a ton of marketing that went into this. Some people saw more marketing than others. I guess it all depends on what you're into on YouTube, because, you know, they show you stuff that they think you will like to watch based on your history. And so I was seeing a lot of Shang-Chi stuff come up. Other people were saying they weren't seeing anything. They never saw any videos. They weren't seeing many trailers. So they were feeling like there was no marketing. There was some, but it didn't feel like it was quite as saturated as with other movies that Marvel has put out, so I'm not sure exactly why. I don't know if they just felt like it wasn't going to do very well, or I really don't, I don't know. But they didn't completely ignore it, but they didn't. It wasn't like in your face all the time, everywhere you turned, Captain Marvel type of promotion that was going on, which, in my opinion, this is a superior movie to Captain Marvel. Yeah, because Captain Marvel ranks dead last for me in the Marvel films. And something I was thinking when I was watching it also was how interconnected so many of these Marvel films are. And I think that's what makes it so enjoyable for a lot of people, because you have this huge universe, this huge world that is started with Iron Man and is just expanded in so many ways, and all these different characters and how they interact and the different stories and how they tie in. I know there's probably plot holes galore and the timeline of some of this stuff, but it's just, you know, for the most part, that when you see something related to the Marvel universe, specifically the movies, you know you're generally going to have a pretty good time. There have been some misses for me. I've mentioned already Captain Marvel, how I felt about that. Thor Dark World 2 wasn't so great. I actually enjoyed The Incredible Hulk. That's down low on the list for a lot of people, but I like that one. But the TV shows, of the TV shows I've watched so far, WandaVision was probably my favorite, even though it had a weak ending. I was not impressed really at all with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I just, no. I felt it had a lot of potential, and instead it veered into the type of territory that I've mentioned before that's just a real turnoff. So I did finish that, but I was just like, well, by the time Loki came around, I started Loki, and I think maybe I'm on the 3rd episode and I still haven't finished. Because I'm not super pumped about where that show's going to. The female variant or version of Loki is not, I can't really connect with her. I don't really like her particularly, and it's just kind of, the interactions between the two of them, it's not, to me, it's not super entertaining. And so I just kind of petered out about halfway through episode 3, or maybe after episode 3 or whatever. I'd started off pretty good. But so anyway, I'm not hugely pumped about the shows. I feel like if there's a weak point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the Marvel Universe in general, I feel like it's the TV shows. I think that's, for the most part, the movies have been fairly solid, but the TV shows, not so much. So anyway, whatever. That was a bit of a tangent, but I feel like this was a pretty solid addition to the Marvel line of movies. I think it's something that most people will enjoy. I like that there really wasn't the element in here that has popped up before throughout the Marvel stuff. There wasn't any sort of preachy tone. There wasn't any sort of wokeness that I could tell. They just told this pretty interesting story that was fun and funny, and, you know, that was it. That's what we got. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I will probably go see it at least one other time on the big screen if my kids are interested to check it out. I expect they will. I'll be curious to find out if I enjoy it more or less the second time around. Oh well. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up so that I can edit it and get it up for hopefully, well, for today, hopefully before too much longer. We've tentatively got a live stream scheduled for tonight at 8:30, but depending on how Scooter's doing, if he suddenly starts to feel really bad, starts to show, you know, finally the reaction to the chemo, because we're right in the middle of that time period. We're in that 3 to 5 day range after his first treatment, and it could show up anytime. So if everything goes okay, if he remains stable and still feeling more like his normal self, he's finally getting back to his normal self. That's been a great relief to see. But yeah, we're planning the 1996 live stream tonight, 8:30, Sunday, September 5th, which this video will probably go up shortly. Not too much, there won't be a huge span between this video and the live stream, but I figured I should mention it anyway, just in case you watch this before then. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now, y'all. Bye.